I can't think of anything more comforting than a good flaky biscuit. My mom used to make biscuits every Sunday morning for us, so it was a staple around our house. But there is a bit of a trick in learning how to keep the layers in your biscuit so that your friends and family will all say, "That's a damn good biscuit." So grab your apron, get inspired, and let's make something yummy together today from the Dewey Kitchen. So this is how we're going to make a basic biscuit recipe. Now once you've mastered this recipe, you can add all sorts of things to it. I personally like to add a cup of cheddar cheese, maybe some crumpled bacon. You could add chives, you could add garlic, all sorts of things to make it absolutely wonderful. But here are the ingredients you're going to need for the basic recipe. 2 cups all-purpose or gluten-free flour, 1 tablespoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon salt, half a cup unsalted stick butter diced and chilled, 1 cup whole milk or buttermilk, whichever you prefer, 2 tablespoons melted unsalted butter, and a generous amount of flour for dusting. You'll also need a few tools of the trade such as a rolling pin, some sort of biscuit cutter, and a cotton dish towel. And finally, preheat your oven to 450 degrees. I've got my dry ingredients here already in the sifter, and I'm just going to finish sifting this up a little bit to get all those chunks out of it so I have a nice smooth flour mixture. Now I'm going to add my butter. Now it's important that your butter is very cold. If your butter has gotten to room temperature after you've sliced it, pop it back into the freezer or the refrigerator for a while because it needs to remain cold. We're just going to add this in. And I'm going to work this now with my hands because I like to do that. It's kind of the old-fashioned way. Okay, so maybe you just got your nails done and you don't want to get your fingers all messy and what have you. No problem, here's a shortcut. You can pop your flour and your butter into a food processor and just give it a quick couple of pulses. Just make sure that you still leave your butter really chunky. Quick couple of pulses and you're done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just break this up into the mixture. The goal is not to mix this together. You want to have chunks of butter left, and in fact when you roll out the mixture you're going to want to have chunks of butter that you can see in the mixture. So we like to say maybe go about pea-sized with this. Lightly mixed together. Okay, I like that. You can still see that there are plenty of chunks, large chunks of butter in there. Now we're going to add our buttermilk. Now you can use regular milk as I said in the ingredients list, but I like buttermilk. I think it adds a nice texture to the biscuit and a nice flavor. And we're just going to mix this together until it comes together lightly as a mixture. It's still going to be sticky, and you're going to have chunks of butter all throughout the mixture. Just get it to the point to where it feels like everything's sort of mixed together and it's coming together nice and sticky, and you can dump it out. Now we're going to take a nice dish towel, just a plain old linen dish towel. It's a good tool of the trade here. I'm going to spread it out. Before I do anything else, we're going to flour this dish towel. Now, you'll see a lot of recipes that say flour generously, and I always thought that meant just a little bit of flour here and there. But actually, for these, you need quite a bit of flour. And we're just going to flour all of this towel here. And then we're going to dump our mixture out onto it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some flour on top of this. And I'm going to work my mixture just a little bit more to where it comes together in a nice little ball here. I'm going to flip it a couple of times. I'm going to work it to where, again, it's in a nice little ball. Adding flour as it goes. At this point, you shouldn't be sticky with it at all. It shouldn't feel sticky to the touch at all because we're going to get ready to roll this out here in a minute. Okay? And now we're going to start rolling this out. Good old rolling pin here. We're going to roll it out into a nice triangle. Triangle? Did I honestly just say triangle? Triangle, square. I obviously didn't learn my shapes as a kid. Ignore all that. Roll it out into a rectangle. A nice rectangle. And you'll be good to go. Triangle. Here. Kind of following the pattern of the dish towel. Don't worry too much if it's perfect. Doesn't have to be a perfect square. But you're going to see here, see all these chunks of butter that are left in this. That's a good thing. You want to keep it that way. Now I'm going to keep flouring along the way so that nothing sticks and that we just keep moving along here till we've got a pretty good square. I'm going to flour just a little bit more. Maybe just a little bit more here. All right. That looks pretty good to me. Nice and big. Now, we're going to flour in between every layer that we fold. And that's part of the secret, because at the end of this, you want to be able to see the layers of the biscuits that you've baked. So I'm going to just spread this on here like this, nicely. Now, I'm going to take my towel, I'm going to flip this over once, and I'm going to flour once again. Then I'm going to flip this over on top of it, that side of it. I'm going to flour once again. Then I'm going to take this far end, I'm going to flip that over about halfway, and then I'm going to put a little bit more flour on top, and then I'm going to flip this over this way, and I'm going to put a little bit more flour on top. All right. So now we have our nice little square that we've all folded together, and you can see if I pick this up, we have several layers in there that we're looking at, and we want to keep those layers. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to gently press this down. Now that flour that you've placed in between all the layers is going to help these layers not stick together, and that's what you want. When you cut these, you want to make sure that the layers have stayed in there. So you don't want to press too hard. I'll just do about that much on it. And now I'm going to take my cutter. Now, you might have some fancy cutters, some circles and what have you, but what do I use? I use a drinking glass. Why do I use it? Because it's what my mom and my grandma used all those years, and it just makes me smile and brings a little comfort. Also, I have to say that it's just about the right size for a good biscuit. So you can get a good straight cut. So if you don't have any cutters, don't worry. Just grab yourself a drinking glass and you'll be perfectly fine. I'm going to take this glass and I'm going to just cut down right into it. I'm going to remove this, and now look at this. You have layer after layer after layer that you can almost just pull apart. And that's what you want. You don't want any of these to really stick together. So I'm going to now take this and just do another one. Take this away, and here's once again all of the layers in our biscuit. Very beautiful, and we're just going to leave it that way. Now what are you going to do? You're going to take all of this scraps and you're going to just work it, and you're going to repeat the process. You should be able to get about 6 biscuits from this, because we want to make sure that they're nice and thick and the layers stay there. And so, you know, you're not going to get a lot of biscuits, but you're going to get about 6. So I'll see you on the other side of this. Just repeat, roll out, layer again, flouring between the layers, and cut out your biscuits. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I followed all the steps and I cut out all my biscuits. One's a little small, as you can see, because I wanted to use up all the dough, but that's perfectly fine. who's gonna know, who's gonna care? So what I've done is I placed these on a pan with a little parchment paper because I like to line my pans with parchment paper to help the bottoms keep from getting a little bit too brown. Here's a quick tip. You'll notice that I'm putting the biscuits side by side on the pan, even though there's plenty of room to spread them out. The reason why I'm doing that is if you put them side by side, they'll have more of an opportunity to bake straight up, giving you a flakier, bigger biscuit. And I'm going to now just take my melted butter. I'm going to spread this over the top here. Just like this. Getting nice butter all on top of every biscuit. Now, if you've been working slowly and you feel like that your biscuits and the butter in the biscuits have gotten too hot, just put these in the refrigerator or the freezer for just a few minutes and let them get chilled, because you want them to be nice and cold whenever they hit the hot oven, because that's going to help them really pop up and make a good flaky biscuit. So these are ready to go. So I'm going to put them in the oven and we'll see how they turn out on the other side. Catch you in a minute. Okay, our biscuits are out of the oven and I think they've turned out pretty good. Look at how they've baked up. If I take this one, you can just really see all the layers that have stayed in there. And I just think that looks beautiful. If I open it up, it's nice and flaky. The layers are there. I'm gonna try this with a little bit of homemade butter that I had just last week. That is a damn good biscuit. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, remember to hit the subscribe button so that you know when the next episode is going to be out. And we'll see you next time on From the Dewey Kitchen. If you tried this recipe, great job, and we want to know how it turned out. So send a photo of your results to ITriedIt@FromTheDeweyKitchen.com, and maybe you'll be featured on the next episode.